At 1000 hours local time, a Russian command post in the taken Kharkiv Oblast is utilizing telegrams instead of radar monitors. They had no idea that a Ukrainian Su-27, ready to deliver Ukraine's Little Caesars, was screaming at them from a distance of 100 kilometers. Even though everything is going according to plan right now, anything could change in a matter of seconds. An unnamed Russian air defense system illuminates the Ukrainian aircraft. The Su-27's radar warning receiver explodes with alarms. X-band radiation is painting the airplane from a distance of 300 kilometers. The pilot slams the throttle ahead and banks abruptly to the left. The twin AL-31F engine screams at maximum power. The S-400's Tombstone radar has located him. Its 2,500 electrical modules shoot invisible beams into the sky without moving a single part. The 40-6E missile launcher blows up. 7.5 meters of bad news will accelerate at Mach 14 in the time it takes to tie your shoes. Operators in the S-400 command vehicle monitor track number to 147. Their identification for this particular Su-27 as the missile speeds toward the intercept location. The missile is not pursuing the aircraft. The plane is on its way to the destination that math indicates it will arrive in 90 seconds. The idea of proportionate navigation makes this possible. A quarterback performs the same calculation when throwing to a receiver who is running downfield. The missile does not follow the course of the airplane. Unlike a dog chasing a car, it finds the shortest route to an intercept place, like across a parking lot, instead of following the sidewalk. The S-400's computer continuously updates the location of the magical meeting place. By solving this geometry problem 100 times per second based on the Su-27's current heading and speed, the pilot, 500 feet above Ukrainian farmland, dives toward a river valley while wearing Earth's armor. The planet's curvature creates a radar shadow that the S-400 cannot see past. At this range, the horizon obscures everything below 1,000 feet. The missile receives updates through its data link. The target was last seen heading 300.00 meters per second. We don't know the altitude. It's essentially flying blind, motivated more by luck than by assurance. But the computer in the S-400 is recognizing his patterns. Typical filtering methods combine what the radar senses with physics predictions. Where he will be is indicated by his speed and present direction. Because of Ukrainian tactics, he must show up for the weapons release. Previous missions' preferred routes are shown. The system is not limited to tracking. It is projecting the exact place of this pilot's appearance by using dozens of previous attacks. It's like knowing that your wife's quick target run always ends at the home decor aisle. The missile does the same, shifting its course in the direction of that expected spot, betting that physics is more predictable than humans. The pilot checks his threat display to determine the time to impact as the fuel indicator falls to approaching values he finds objectionable. The detour to avoid the first missile had already cost him 5 minutes of flight time, instead of the usual 120 kilograms at cruising altitude. These AL-31F engines use 300 kilograms of fuel per minute at low altitude. Time that could be spent traveling home is wasted playing chicken with missiles. However, he suddenly doesn't care as much about his gasoline supply. The second S-400 battery burns 350 kilometers away within Russian territory. But instead of tracking, this one is gambling. The 4.8-6 missile launches toward an empty sky, intended to appear in areas where data suggests the presence of Ukrainian aircraft. The Russians have turned air defense into probability calculus by concentrating on patterns rather than aircraft. This predictive barrage works because mission requirements create predictability. A JDAM-ER must be released from its maximum range at a specific height and speed. The bomb is essentially a glider. To reach its target, it must be 70 kilometers high. In the same way that a paper airplane launched from a tall building travels farther than one launched from the ground. Additionally, the airspeed needs to be exactly right for the wings to burst out appropriately. If you move too fast, they can shatter. They are too slow and won't lock in place. The sweet spot, which is 27,000 feet at 400 knots, is mentioned multiple times in the Russian database. They are wagering that this pilot will hit the same window since he has no other choice. Because of physics, the S-400 missile flies to its designated ambush site and waits. The seeker you see above is searching the empty skies, much like a predator watching a game trail. It uses 180 kilograms of explosive, creating a brief fireball that only warms a few clouds, and discovers nothing for 8 seconds before self-destructing. The original S-400 is still in use, nevertheless. After recalculating in light of the Su-27's altered trajectory, its operators inserted updated intercept solutions into their remaining missiles. It takes time for even supersonic rockets to travel 350 kilometers. It was time for the pilot to disappear into the scenery. The system's greatest strength, its enormous range, becomes a disadvantage when targets refuse to fly predictable trajectories. The pilot's diversion puts him directly in front of an S-300 battery that is 80 kilometers away. Its grill pan radar is already tracking something interesting. The Su-27's radar altimeter indicates that I'm here at 4.3 GHz 50 times per second. Unbeknownst to the pilot, this safety system has become a homing beacon for much closer missiles. The S-300's 10,000 electronic eyes create pencil-thin beams that track with surgical precision. It can track 12 targets and simultaneously direct missiles to half of them, using only electronic guidance and no revolving dish. The radar operator can see the Su-27 flying between hills at a height of 200 to 800 feet. When the topography allows, to 9M8-2M missiles explode from their launchers. These are not the S-400 strategic hammers. They are tactical scalpels designed to hit targets within 100 kilometers. According to the brochure, the missiles accelerate to Mach 7.5 using a boost-sustained profile, saving fuel for the finish when targets make their most desperate attempts to flee. As his threat warning system screams, the pilot's aircraft is emblazoned with command guidance beams. This is known as semi-active command guidance, or SAG, where a human operator actively flies the missile while watching the target on the screen, using a joystick instead of a computer to jam or an independent seeker to deceive. A Russian with steady hands and malevolent purpose is aiming for 180 kilograms of explosives at you, at 8 times the speed of sound. He scatters chaff and breaks left toward a ridgeline. The aluminum strips that blossom behind the aircraft, each cut to exactly half the radar's wavelength, turn one Su-27 into what seems like a cloud of Su-27s. With his crosshairs creeping onto the stronger return, the first missile operator takes the bait. However, this has already been done by the second operator. He watches it accelerate toward the crest while keeping his pipper on the initial target. As the ground gets closer at 200 meters per second, the pilot maintains his composure. If you pull up too soon, the missile will adjust. The game is over if it's too late. The airplane moans and protests as he yanks back on the stick and pulls 6 Gs at precisely 300 meters out. He is separated from the guidance beam by the move. Suddenly blind, the missile plunges straight into the earth, creating a new crater in the Ukrainian landscape. However, the festivities are premature. By using defensive maneuvers, the pilot has consumed valuable fuel and communicated his location to all radars within 200 kilometers. The gasoline indicator indicates 58%, which is sufficient to finish the task for the time being. But he runs the risk of having to walk home if he launches any more. At the same time, 3 more S-300 batteries were revealed. Their radars produce firing fields that interlock into seconds. For missiles are fired by the lead battery ripple. They were all set up for distinct intercept angles. This is the pinnacle of Soviet doctrine. Instead of aiming at the target's location or direction, place missiles anywhere it might travel. These missiles are very wicked because of the guidance system. This human operator is able to see every move, anticipate every break, and make adjustments for every countermeasure. The deadliest video game in the world is being played by him. However, there is no respawn, and the target is genuine, The pilot takes a risk that could save his life, but would cause him to flunk flight school, maximum afterburner straight up. The Zoom climb jumps from 500 to 3,500 feet in 4 seconds by exchanging all of his speed for height. All 4 missiles are forced to simultaneously twist their necks skyward due to the abrupt vertical vector, like for people attempting to operate the same TV remote. Their command beams cross and cause interference. 2 missiles instantly lose lock. Conflicting signals confuse their receivers. The third can't match the climb angle, but it keeps lock. It travels to 100 meters below, not close enough to set off its proximity fuse, but close enough to feel the heat, while attempting to match the vertical trajectory. The 4th missile runs out of rocket fuel while being in excellent position. Before exploding, it stalls 500 meters below and descends back to Earth like a pricey lawn dart. Although the move saves his life, it depletes all of his reserve fuel, which exacerbates the situation of his threat display. There are 2 new contacts. Su-35 aircraft are already painting him with their radars as they vector in from 150 kilometers out. The Airbus radar of the lead Su-35 establishes lock at its maximum range. This isn't the previous fighter's mechanical scanning, while the pilot drinks coffee. The 1,772 electronic modules can engage 8 targets and track 30. When the radar detects the Su-27 ascending through 0 feet, it determines the target's energy status and concludes that it is high, slow, and out of choices. An R-37M hypersonic missile is chosen by the pilot. A brilliant dual-pulse motor powers the missile. Sprinting to Mach 6 is the first pulse. To conserve gasoline, it then coasts for 40 seconds. The final strike is then illuminated by the second pulse. It's like a fighter who sleeps in between rounds but ultimately knocks you out. The Su-27 is still having trouble reaching release altitude when the R-37M takes off. The missile does not yet need to sight its target. While data link updates come from the Su-35 10 times per second, inertial guidance keeps it on course. Target bearing 180, range 140 kilometers, elevation 24,000 feet. Its own radar won't activate until it's within 20 kilometers, and by then it's generally too late. As the altitude gradually increases, the Ukrainian pilot keeps an eye on the impact counter-drop time. For the best JDAM release, he requires 27,000 feet any lower. The bomb might not make it to the intended target in 45 seconds. The missile will reach its destination in 40. He will reach his release point. Green lights are displayed on the JDAM interface. The bomb is aware of its location, is confident in its ability to travel, and understands where it must go. The satellites have already been locked upon by the GPS receivers. The fuse is prepared to arm, and the wing deployment mechanism has successfully completed its self-test. It just requires 3.2 seconds to expand its wings after being separated from the airplane. The pilot pickles the bomb at 26,800 feet while the R-37M is closing at 2,000 meters per second. As soon as the JDAM-ER is dropped from the centerline pylon, it starts to change from a stupid weight to a clever weapon. The wings are released by explosive bolts. They are forced outward against the airstream by springs. With mechanical precision, locks snap into position. For 3.2 seconds, the pilot has to remain stable even though every instinct tells them to evade. Any abrupt movement could disrupt the GPS coordinate transfer or harm the wings that are deploying. It's similar to having your house on fire as you wait for Windows 98 to load. At 18 kilometers, the R-37M seeker instantly activates and detects the massive radar signature of the Su-27. The missile calculates intercept geometry for proximity detonation using its 60 kilograms warhead arms. It doesn't need to strike directly to fill the sky with hypersonic bits. It just needs to approach within 10 meters. The JDAM finally clears. The pilot flipped over, drew 9 Gs, and yanked the stick into his stomach as flares and chaff blew behind him like the 4th of July. The fly-by-wire mechanism of the airplane makes it difficult for him to remove the wings. The R-37M can't generate enough lift in the thin air despite its best attempts. As it travels 100 meters overhead, rivet patterns can be seen by someone counting. When the proximity fuse detects the SU-27, it blows. The fuselage has holes punctured by fragments that whistle in the airflow. The hydraulic pressure stays in the green even when it drops. The right-hand engine's temperature rises before leveling out. Despite its damage, the aircraft behind him is still in the air. While the JDAM is unseen and unretrievable, the JDAM-ER soars into the morning air at 280 kilometers per hour. Its wings locked at the perfect angle for maximum range. A Russian command post goes with it. Inside its electrical brain, Russian jamming and American engineering are at war. On the ground, a Russian Kasuka for device fills GPS frequencies with enough noise to turn a rock concert into a meditative experience. But the bomb has its own noise-canceling headphones. It switches between consumer GPS and military encode. Encrypted signals on different frequencies have not been prioritized by the Russians. The signal is faint but audible, like hearing someone whisper at a party. Between GPS updates, the ENS assumes command 3 revolving gyroscopes and accelerometers that are cognizant of all flight path curves in order to correct the 5 meters of drift that the system picks up every minute. The GPS updates every 60 seconds. For minutes in, the jamming kicks up, GPS is gone, and the bomb's flying blind. After 45 seconds, it drifts 20 meters. It gets perilous when the target building is within 30 meters of similar structures. A breakthrough came next, for satellites were reclaimed concurrently. The position was changed. The mistake has been corrected. 15 kilometers left. Back on course. The pilot is currently diving for home at a height of 100 feet. It will never be known how close the mission was to failure. The reading on his gas gauge is 18%, just enough if he manipulates the cruise settings and prays for tailwinds. Defensive systems are still hunting, but the ground clutter exactly what his bomb will now be part of hides him from vision once more. The JDAM's radar altimeter wakes up at 1,000 feet and pings the ground 50 times per second. To gauge height, the guidance computer computes the target position, wind drift, forward speed, and current altitude. It needs an impact angle of 72, which is steep enough to puncture without losing energy. The control surfaces shift, trading forward speed for dive angle. 3 similar 9-story buildings, spaced 30 meters apart, are seen below. GPS indicates the northernmost building. However, a single mistake causes the mission to fail. The navigation system uses stored satellite photos to compare the current position. The target building is subject to extraordinary battle damage because of previous combat. Pattern matching confirms the proper target 98% of the time. Final modifications for a 15-knot crosswind. Control surfaces make a 2 leftward trajectory adjustment. At a height of 100 feet, GPS provides one last update, 3 meters from the perfect dead center. The radar altimeter counts down as the fuse arms for the 25 millisecond delay. Enough to go 3 stories before blowing up. Impact. The JDAM punches through the ceiling at a speed of 90 meters per second, passing through the 9th level in 8 milliseconds. 8 more stories. Kaboom on the 7th floor. 10 times the structural load limitations are exceeded by the overpressure generated by 89 kilograms of explosive. Support columns designed for vertical loads are used to meet horizontal force. Physics wins out. The building collapses in 4.3 seconds and falls straight down, with each story pancaking into the one below. The surrounding buildings are structurally sound despite having broken windows and superficial damage, proof of Ukraine's targeted urban renewal programs, one building at a time. No permissions are required. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel, WW to Revealed, for more incredible stories and obscure historical events.